Over the next few minutes, I'd like to introduce you to a revolutionary new product that we call Uniweld Ribbon. More than 5 years research has gone into the development of this product, and we feel like it has some pretty unique application. Let me explain that by pointing out that all of the plastics you see displayed here were all repaired with the same material. Urethane, TPO, polycarbonate, and many others are possible to repair with this same material. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you the simplicity of its application, maybe some pointers on how best to use it, and more information relative to the different plastics that can be repaired with this product. We feel like that once you've watched it work, you too will agree that it truly is revolutionary. The first repair we're going to make is on a Honda type bumper that is TPO material, and as everybody knows is somewhat difficult to repair with what's available to us in the industry at this time. This damage, as you can see, goes all the way to the edge of the bumper and needs to be repaired so that it has a real good strength. And we'll show you how easy that is to do using the new Uniweld ribbon as we progress with this repair. In any plastic repair, cleaning is the first and most important step, and we really recommend 2 steps in the cleaning process. Clean it first with soap and water, and then with a good solvent-based cleaner. Our Super Clean plastic cleaner is an excellent product for that, and make sure that that's done before any repair is started. A good way with this cleaner is to spray it on and then wipe it off. That way you get full benefit from the cleaner itself rather than saturating the cloth and wiping with it. It'll work better for you if you spray it on the substrate and then wipe it clean. We've used aluminum body tape for alignment purposes only, and as you can see, since we're obviously filming this in a TV studio rather than an auto body repair facility, we've done most of the grinding outside to keep from contaminating the electronics in this room. But we use this die grinder and this burr cutter to do the beveling with, and then following that, it's a good idea in this technique to use something like a 36 grit Rolock disc on a slow speed grinder and rough up the surface around it. We've determined that the preferred shape to extrude this material is in a ribbon form, and we've also designed a flat tip to work it with. And it works best to just preheat or pre-melt one side of the ribbon, rotate it over and put the melted side in place, snip it off with a flat tip, and then work it in. As you can see, once it's in a melted state, it works much like melted butter. There's no problem at all in filling any void with it and smoothing it out rather well and very easily. Just let the heat do the work for you. I'm not putting any pressure on the tip itself. As you can see, I've melted enough of the Uniweld in place over the damage to kind of fill in the void. Now I have cut also a piece of wire reinforcing mesh in a shape that will cover that and reinforce it. And I'll show you how easy it is to melt this in place and reinforce this repair since it's cut all the way to the edge of the bumper. All we do is just melt it in place, and since it is a metal mesh, you're not going to damage the reinforcing mesh, and we're just easily going to melt it right down into the repair. And by doing this, we have added tremendous strength to this repair. Any area that there's not enough material in place to cover the wire mesh, just add some more to it until the wire reinforcing mesh is totally covered. And since it is metal, you can form it to fit any contour that you're working with, and it'll stay in place as you're working. As you can see, we've pretty much covered the reinforcing mesh with the Uniweld material at this point, and we've worked it all the way up, and now we want to wrap it over the edge of the damage, completely reinforcing the cut where it comes to the edge. And by doing this, we again have added tremendous strength to the repair by rolling the reinforcing mesh all the way over the edge. One thing to remember before you attempt to remove the aluminum body tape that was used for alignment purposes is to quick cool the repaired area. Do it with a sponge, wet sponge, or blow it with an air hose, or whatever's convenient. As you can see, we've again used the die grinder and the burr cutter to bevel out the damage on this side, then use the 36 grit on a slow speed grinder to rough up the edges around the repaired area. We're now ready to fill in the damage on the front side of the repair. And we do that again exactly like we did on the back side by just filling in the void with melted plastic. The Uniweld is very easy to maneuver when it comes to filling in the damage. As soon as you've cooled the repair area, you can continue with the repair when using Uniweld. And another unique quality of this material is that it sands real well. And to show you that, I'm going to finish off this repair using 80 grit on an orbital sander. And you'll be able to see that a lot of small repairs can be done without the additional step of adding a filler over top. But then again, you know, larger repairs are sometimes faster by adding a skim coat of epoxy over the repaired area. But to show you how nice it sands, we're going to knock this one down with 80 grit. Now on this small area, that'll finish off nicely without having to skim coat it with epoxy. In the past, tab repairs have been very difficult to do, especially on TPO type plastics. But I'd like to show you with the Uniweld just how easy it now is. As you can see, we've already done the preparation work by cleaning and grinding to a bevel on both sides the damage using a slow speed grinder. Now we're going to kind of form it up using aluminum body tape. This makes it easier to shape the plastic and hold it in place while you're doing so. Now all we're doing is just taking some aluminum body tape and kind of making a mold, if you will, to hold the melted plastic in place, and we're going to fill in the torn away damage in this tab area. Now all we do is just fill in the missing void in the mold that we've created. And we'll again pre-melt one side of the Uniweld, rotate it over, snip it off, and just melt it in place. You'll have to do that. As much plastic as we've got missing here, we'll have to do that 2 or 3 times in order to get enough material in place to fill the gap. But this makes for a very, very easy tab repair, because all we're doing is just replacing the missing plastic with new melted plastic. And as soon as we're finished with this side, we can quick cool it and then move to the back side and finish it off. As a matter of fact, this sort of repair can be done very, very quickly, even though you're having to apply the plastic to both sides. But you don't have to wait for it to cure. All you do is quick cool it and then go to the back side and finish off the repair. We've now quick cooled the front side repair and removed the aluminum body tape form, and we're using a slow speed grinder with a 36 grit disc to kind of bevel the edges on the back side. Now we're ready to just fill in that with new melted plastic so that you've got it tied in both front and back on the tab. Okay, now we're just going to fill it in with new Uniweld. And we're doing that in an overlap application so that the old beveled edges are kind of sandwiched from both sides with the new melted Uniweld material. And once you do that and finish it off, quick cool it and sand it down, you've got as good as new a tab replaced. Anyone that has ever attempted to weld thermoset urethanes know that there's a problem with it, in that there's a heat-activated chemical in this material that if you get it too hot comes to the top and keeps anything from sticking to it. And that same problem is still relative when you're using the Uniweld ribbon. But let me show you how to avoid that and what to look for in the process. Now I'm purposely going to overheat this particular area until that material surfaces. And then we'll melt a little rod on it and I'll show you what to look for. This is not a problem if you're aware of it and consider the effect that the heat's having on it. Now as you can see, that melted in place rather nicely, but I didn't stay on it long enough to get it extra hot. But let me show you what happens when I overheat it. See it just kind of totally separate and it don't stick. All you need to do to recover from that is just let it cool a little bit. If you've really messed it up, cool it down, grind it off and start over. But it's not a real problem if you're aware of it. The Uniweld in its extruded form is obviously very flexible, but it also becomes very rigid if you increase the thickness of it. So when you're dealing with a rigid plastic like the polycarbonates or SMCs and many others that are in a very rigid form, all you do is just increase the thickness of the buildup to achieve the rigidity that's desired on the particular plastic. This, for instance, is a Xenoi or polycarbonate bumper section that has been cut in two right here, and we've repaired, and we've built up the thickness so that we've got the rigidity that we need for the rigid plastic. And we achieve that by just building the thickness and adding the reinforcing mesh both on the back side and undercutting it on the front side, putting a strip of the reinforcing mesh on the front side also. And this can be accomplished on most any rigid plastic that you wish to repair. Not only does Uniweld do an excellent job on all types of plastics, but works equally as well as a repair material for padded dashes. And I'll show you that in one that we've kind of already staged some repairs on, but I'll do part of it to show you how it works. Also, occasionally you'll need to kind of clean off the tip with a wire brush, as it tends to build up a little bit when you're letting it sit and not using it between times. Here we have a damaged crash pad that was split all the way across here. I've welded up most of it already for the sake of time, but let me show you how simple it is to finish it off. Again, we're just pre-melting one side, laying it into the damaged area, snipping it off, and melting it in. And you want to make sure that it's melted down into the foam backing on a crash pad so that it's all tied together. Again, it'll take 2 or 3 passes to fill in a void as large as this one is. But even at that, it makes for a very quick repair. Large repairs can be made, but obviously a crash pad that has a lot of damage or is cracked in a lot of areas is probably going to be so brittle till a major repair is not going to be feasible. But with this technique, it certainly makes it possible for you to do repairs that you probably wouldn't attempt prior to. The next step in the process, obviously, is to quick cool the area that you've welded, and then rough sand it down. Do that here with an 80 grit on an orbital sander. Now, any imperfections that are left would be filled in with our padded dash filler. That's this product here, as you can see, in the next stage of the repair that we've done here. That works much like your polyester body filler. It has an activator that goes with it. Just fill it in, smooth it off, and then you're ready to add the texture back. And in our product line, that's our Flex Tex material. It has complete instructions on how to use it. You just recreate the texture that you want. And on this one, since it was a black instrument panel, we've used our black bumper finish to put the color back in. So these are the steps that you would follow. Weld it up, obviously clean it first, weld it up, apply the dash filler, apply the texture material, and then color coat. And you can do an absolute beautiful repair on a padded dash. Well, as you've seen, the Uniweld system really is easy to use, and I think still can be described as a revolutionary product. But not only is it easy to use and works on a lot of different plastics, but it makes a very strong repair as well. As you can see on this particular TPO bumper that's been damaged both in the corners on the top and bottom and repaired with the Uniweld. We also repaired a tab that's as strong as it was prior to the damage, and the corners are as strong also. And to give you an example of that strength, I'm going to ask for some help here, and we'll just give it a tug, putting some real leverage in the corners where it's been repaired, and the Uniweld holds. So I think that proves that it does do a quality repair and is easy to use. With the introduction of the new Uniweld product, Urethane Supply Company continues to be a leader in the manufacture of automotive plastic repair and refinishing products. These are but a few of the many products manufactured by this company.